After saving his daughter's life, a wealthy man asks a beggar woman to be his date for an hour at his ex-wife's wedding to her lover. But when the beggar shows up at the party, everyone is stunned. The cell phone rang at 6 a.m., waking Jonas from a light and fitful sleep, which was unusual for his usually busy schedule. He stood up with a sigh, his mind already focusing on the day's challenges. After a quick shower, he went into the next room to wake up his 7-year-old daughter, Julie, who was the only comfort in his complicated life. He gently stroked her hair and whispered, "Julie, honey, it's time to get up. We have a full day ahead of us. Let's go, we can't be late for school." Julie rubbed the sleep from her eyes and murmured, reluctantly leaving the comfort of her covers. "Dad, can I stay for another 5 minutes? And I don't want cereal for breakfast. And I don't want to go to your office after school. It's so boring." Before we continue with the story, I'd like to ask you to subscribe to the channel. It really means a lot to us. Also, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. We're asking this because trying to strike a balance between firmness and tenderness, Jonas replied, "There will be no cereal today. I prepared toast with your favorite jam. As for the office, my secretary Jennifer will pick you up after school. You know you're too young to stay home alone, right? Besides, your nanny is still sick and won't be able to come. Come on, little angel, get up. I'm waiting for you for breakfast." Jonas's life, although full of luxury and success as one of the city's most renowned architects, was marked by a carefully planned routine from dawn. He took Julia to school, then went to the office, and his day was filled with meetings, projects, and negotiations that often lasted late into the night. After divorcing Kelly, his ex-wife, and betraying Gail, his former partner, Jonas devoted himself even more to his work and less to his daughter. Starting my own architecture firm after the painful dissolution of my previous partnership was a bold but exhausting step. He completely rebuilt himself and in a short time regained some of the clients who had been taken over by his former partner and also gained new contacts in neighboring cities. Working from early morning until late at night, he had little time to enjoy moments with Julia. Sometimes Jonas had to take Julia to his office after school because he always came back late at night and was afraid to leave her home alone. He didn't even notice that another busy day was coming to an end when Jennifer brought his daughter into the office after ballet class. The girl reluctantly sat down in a chair, shared the news from school, talked about the grades she had received, and then asked, "Dad, I don't want to be here in your office. It's so boring here. Can I call my mom and go to her house? You can pick me up after work, even late at night. She hasn't called me in a long time. I miss her." Jonas sighed deeply and replied, "Julie, of course you can call her. She's your mom after all, but I don't think she has time for you right now. As always, he has other important things to attend to." Julie shook her head sadly and started dialing her mother's number on her cell phone. "Hi, Mom. You haven't called for a long time, so I decided to call you. Why don't you take me out for ice cream, or can I go to your house? I miss you." After a while, Kelly, her mother, replied nervously, "Honey, I don't have much time today. You know Mom is always busy. If I have some free time this weekend, I'll give you a call, okay?" Julie looked sad and sour. Jonas felt compassion for his daughter. After all, the girl just wanted to talk to her mother, but her mother didn't even want to see her. Then Jonas winked at her and said, "You know what? Now I'll take a break from work. Let's go for a large ice cream with 3 scoops, chocolate icing, strawberry icing, and sprinkles. What do you think?" Julie immediately smiled broadly and started talking about school again. After eating ice cream together, she opened her notebook and started doing her homework. Meanwhile, Jonas left for an important business meeting. He returned soon after, a smile appearing on his face when he saw Julia sleeping on the couch, wrapped in a blanket. Jonas made himself a strong coffee, sat down in his favorite leather chair, closed his eyes and lost himself in thought, dreaming of giving Julia a life full of opportunities that he himself never had. His life, from his childhood to his rise as a renowned architect, was full of challenges and overcoming difficulties. He grew up in a dysfunctional family where love and support were rare. His parents were in constant conflict, his father was absent and consumed by alcohol, and his mother, overburdened with work and frustration, was unable to offer any form of love or encouragement. However, Jonas had a sharp mind and a unique talent for design and architecture. From his youth, he excelled at school, especially in subjects requiring advanced thinking and creativity. His teachers saw great potential in him, often praising him for his commitment and skills. Outside of science, Jonas had a secret passion for drawing structures and buildings. His imagination filled the paper with innovative designs and creative architectural solutions. Despite financial constraints, he participated in design competitions where his work stood out, even if he used simple and accessible materials. However, when he expressed his desire to pursue a career in architecture, his mother dismissed his dreams as unrealistic fantasies, insisting that he look for something more practical. "Who do you think you are, son? You're wasting your time on these drawings. I don't see a future in this. Better focus on being a doctor or a lawyer. You will definitely succeed there," she said, not trusting Jonas's potential. Despite his family's disapproval, Jonas remained true to his passion. Determined to change his life, he left his hometown in search of education and opportunities that could make his dreams a reality. The beginning was difficult. He had almost no money and had to survive by working as a waiter, salesman, and even as a porter. At university, he studied architecture with great dedication, surviving on scholarships and odd jobs. There, he met Kelly, an interior design student who also seemed to have a bright future ahead of her. Always ambitious and of extraordinary beauty, Jonas fell in love with her at first sight. Together, they shared a vision of the future and success. After graduating, Jonas and Kelly got married and opened an architecture firm. The business flourished thanks to Jonas's innovative vision and Kelly's aesthetic sense. But as it happens, the intense routine and household responsibilities began to affect their relationship. Kelly felt neglected, especially after the birth of their daughter Julie. Feeling a lack of attention and love, she made a sudden decision to leave the office she ran with Jonas and sought comfort in the arms of another person. The new relationship wasn't what Kelly expected. Even though she was still there for Jonas for the sake of their daughter, her heart yearned for something more. She came to life when her lover Gail came into her life. They met when Jonas introduced him as a new partner in an architecture firm because Kelly had decided to leave the firm. Kelly was captivated by Gail's smile and his sharp business sense. One night, while alone in the office, Gail invited her to dinner, making his intentions known. Kelly initially reacted negatively, but after a while she began to relent. Finally, before she knew it, she was already in bed with Jonas's new partner. What began with hesitation ended with her returning home at dawn, marking the first time she had cheated on Jonas. From that point on, Kelly started hanging out with Gail more and more often, making excuses for Jonas, saying that she was overwhelmed with her responsibilities with Julia and needed to have fun with her friends. Their relationship with Gail took up all of her attention, leaving little room for a real family. Jonas, on the other hand, felt that something was wrong. The nights were long and lonely, full of thoughts of jealousy and resentment. Despite attempts to speak honestly with Kelly to understand the changes in her behavior, she denied all accusations and made excuses. The tenderness, love, and warmth that once existed in their family were gone. Even through the pain and distrust, Jonas had hope that this was just a temporary crisis and that it would end soon, believing in the love he still felt for Kelly and the hope that she would become a loving partner again. He didn't want to get a divorce, thinking about the well-being of Julie, who needed her mother. But when Julie turned 5, things came to a head. Kelly, unable to lead a double life, made the drastic decision to leave Jonas and Julie, leaving only a goodbye note. "I'm sorry, but I can't go on living like this. I fell in love with Gail a long time ago, and I don't feel anything for you, Jonas. I'm going to file for divorce." Jonas was devastated. Kelly's betrayal and her sudden departure left a huge void in his life. How was he supposed to explain to Julie that her mother had left for someone else, and someone he worked with? The nights were the hardest as Jonas struggled to find the words to comfort his daughter while still being alone in his despair. In court, things took an even worse turn. Jonas discovered that Gail had found a way to put most of the company's assets in his name, exploiting the loopholes that Jonas had left due to the trust he had in Gail to run the company. Fortunately, the house was awarded to Jonas and Julie, which was a small consolation in the middle of a whirlwind of loss. Despite the betrayal and abandonment, Jonas refused to let the situation define him. Although he became the object of ridicule in the city and in some of the places he visited, as if he had been unjustly betrayed, he tried to move forward, determined to rebuild his life and give Julie the best life possible. He focused his energy on work and being both the father and mother that Julie needed, making sure she would never lack for love and care. In search of a new beginning, Jonas decided to invest in a project that had always been his passion, but which he had pushed to the background, opening his own architectural office specializing in sustainable construction. With the help of old friends and a local community in need, Jonas began to see the light at the end of the tunnel, building not only a new career, but also a new home for himself and Julie, where love and hope could blossom again. His sustainable designs have added a new dimension to a city that was previously producing tons of waste, now transformed and used in Jonas's projects, changing the entire supply chain and building construction. He was even awarded by the mayor for his cooperation with the local community. Over time, Jonas regained everything he lost due to his former partner and even significantly increased his fortune. However, like a scale that loses its balance, Jonas began to pay less attention to Julie because he was working too much, trying to compensate for the pain and loss caused by his former destructive relationship. One afternoon, as Jonas tried to give Julie the love and care that he himself had lacked as a child due to work, he thought about how he could change the situation. While these thoughts were in progress, he was interrupted by a knock on his office door. As he got up to open the door, he took one last look at Julie, who was still sleeping peacefully on the couch. Not much later, Julie woke up, rubbing the sleep from her eyes, and started doing her homework. But boredom quickly overtook her. She looked out the window, longing for some fun outside of the confined space that was her father's office. Driven by an impulse for adventure, Julie decided to go outside while her father was busy. She walked the streets, observing the traffic around her, until the park across the street caught her attention. With swings, slides, and climbing frames, it seemed like the perfect place for a short and fun break. Without thinking, Julie ran to the park, determined to enjoy a few moments of fun before heading back to the office. However, her adventure came to an abrupt end when the car's brakes suddenly screeched loudly and a strong hand pulled her back to the pavement, saving her from the impending accident. Terrified and with tears in her eyes, Julie looked up and met the concerned gaze of a strange woman with dirty and unbrushed hair. "You need to be more careful when crossing the street, little one." Text here. Seeing the fear and innocence in her eyes, the unknown woman smiled warmly as she held out her hand. "Don't worry, Julie. I'll walk you back. Let's go before your dad notices you're gone." When Jonas returned to the office, he noticed that Julie was gone. He became worried and began to blame himself for his daughter's disappearance. Desperately, he began looking for her around the building, looking through rooms, halls, and bathrooms, but she was nowhere to be found. Julie never went out without asking permission and was always with Jennifer, the secretary. Still shocked, Jonas called Jennifer to go look for Julie together. When they went out into the street, they saw the girl accompanied by a dirty, poorly dressed woman who appeared to be homeless. Not understanding the situation well, Jonas ran up to them and started shouting, "Who are you? What do you want from my daughter? Get away from her right now or I'll call the police." Julie interrupted her father. "Dad, don't yell at her. This lady saved me. I almost got hit by a car in the street. I didn't notice it. I'm sorry, but it's a good thing she was there to pull me back to the sidewalk. Don't be mad at her. I'm sorry. I promise I'll never go out alone again." Jonas hugged his daughter tightly and said, "Julie, honey, I was so scared. Never do that again. Do you understand how dangerous this is? You are the most precious to me. I can't let anything happen to you, Angel." Jonas then turned to the strange woman and felt a little ashamed of his harsh treatment. "I'm sorry, ma'am," I screamed, not understanding what had happened. "Thank you for saving my daughter. I left the office for a while, and when I came back, she just wasn't there anymore. I am very grateful to you. I see that you may need money. Please accept this amount for yourself." Jonas tried to take some bills out of his wallet, but the woman refused and said dryly, "No, young man. I don't need your money, thank you very much, but I did it from the heart and did not expect anything in return. If you really want to help me, I'd like to get a job. Only then would I feel rewarded. I'm ready to do anything. I want to start a new life, you know. I can't live like this anymore." The woman finished with a sad, downcast look. Seeing her situation, Jonas stopped for a moment to think. He called Jennifer, his secretary, and said quietly, "Why don't we hire her? As the number of projects increases, it would be good to have someone additional to serve clients. What do you think?" Jennifer made a dissatisfied face and muttered, "It's up to you. We'll do what you say, but I don't like this idea. Maybe he'll start stealing or using drugs at work. I don't trust her. Look how dirty it is." "You're right," Jonas replied. "But still, let's give her a trial run for a month or two and then we'll see. She saved my daughter. She deserves a chance." Turning to the woman, Jonas asked, "Madam, what is your name?" Do you have an ID card? Are you ready to work as an assistant in our office? My name is Lara. Yes, I have an ID card. Thank you for the opportunity. This is exactly what I need. I'm ready to start whenever you want. I will be the best at whatever you give me, you can be sure. My name is Jonas. Nice to meet you. She also developed a special bond with Julia, Jonas's daughter, who trusted her and shared her joys and difficulties. Lara treasured these moments with Julie, and 3 months later, Jonas was very pleased with her work, appreciating her diligence and willingness to help. However, despite no complaints about the new employee, Jennifer, Jonas's secretary, felt uncomfortable with her presence, especially the closeness that was developing between Lara and Jonas. Jennifer has always secretly loved her boss, and after breaking up with Kelly, she saw a chance to enter his life as a new partner. When Lara proved so competent at her job, Jennifer saw her as a potential threat. That's why she decided to accuse Lara to force Jonas to fire her. The moment Jennifer asked Lara to find some documents, she caused a scandal by claiming that Lara was looking through something she shouldn't have. Jonas, we have a problem. I left Lara alone for a moment while she started looking through confidential documents. I think she may have been planning to sell them. You should consider firing her. Do you remember that I warned you about the risks of hiring someone like that? Well, that's what happened. The moment Jennifer asked Lara to find some documents, she caused a scandal by claiming that Lara was looking through something she shouldn't have. Jonas, we have a problem. I left Lara alone for a moment while she started looking through confidential documents. I think she may have been planning to sell them. You should consider firing her. Do you remember that I warned you about the risks of hiring someone like that? Well, that's what happened. I told you, Jennifer suggested. Jonas, surprised and confused by the accusations, confronted Lara, who categorically denied, I didn't steal anything. If you don't trust me, I'd rather leave than be accused of something I didn't do. I don't want to be accused of something worse or put in jail, Lara said firmly. Jonas believed Lara, promising to investigate. He then decided that Jennifer should take a leave of absence until the situation was resolved. The secretary was furious because her plan failed. Moreover, Jonas's daughter was also at the office that day and saw Jennifer's behavior. It was then that the girl revealed to her father, Dad, Lara is innocent. I saw Jennifer looking through her papers. She wanted to frame Lara because she doesn't like her, but I saw everything. I was under the table when I saw Jennifer telling Lara to look at the documents, and then she started yelling at her, the girl said. Thank you, Julie. When did it happen? Do you remember? Now you are my private detective. You helped solve a complicated situation. I'm very proud of you. Jonas, grateful for Julie's intervention and relieved to discover the truth, checked the security footage, confirming Lara's innocence, and confronted Jennifer with the evidence. Why did you do that? You've been working with me for so long and you're doing something like this. Tell me why. The secretary frowned, and after a long pause she replied, Why? Because she was a dirty and stupid beggar. I decided to teach her a lesson so she can learn. Jonas was furious at Jennifer's response. He didn't expect such insolence from the secretary who had now been fired. Lara thanked Jonas again for not firing her. Thank you very much for not firing me. I really didn't do anything wrong. I'm just starting to live like a normal person, and I realize that I don't seem good enough yet, but I'm trying hard to get back into society. If you need anything, I will always be here to help you, said the grateful young woman. In a moment of deeper connection, Jonas dared to ask, I'm sorry for being curious, but there's something I can't stop thinking about. How did you end up living on the streets? It's hard to understand. You seem like a normal person, far from drugs and alcohol, but you ended up in this situation. How did this happen? Lara then opened her heart to Jonas, sharing the path that led her to the streets and how rescuing Julie gave her new reasons to value life. It's hard to explain. My life has always been full of ups and downs. I grew up without knowing my mother, and my father was an alcoholic. Despite this, I had a childhood that I considered normal. Although our house always smelled of alcohol and cigarettes and my father brought various women into the house. Maybe that's what put me off drinking. After graduating, I went to college, got a few jobs, and soon after started my own business with some success. I met a man who seemed like the perfect partner, but after we got married, he cheated on me in a terrible way, taking all my money. Suddenly he disappeared, taking everything we had, leaving me with nothing. I was forced to give up my dreams and close my businesses. The money ran out and I lost my house. It's hard to describe how I felt then, but when I saved your daughter, I felt a spark of hope light up inside me. It gave me the strength to rebuild my life. Now I'm on the road to getting back to normal. My desire is simple: to have an ordinary life, start a family, have children, and contribute to society in some way." Jonas listened carefully before answering. "How interesting. Our stories are very similar. I grew up in a pretty dysfunctional family. I had a childhood that I don't like to talk about. My wife also left me, running away with my former partner, who not only cheated on me with her, but also took a large part of the fortune that I had acquired with great difficulty. Julie still misses her mom, but Kelly seems to have forgotten that she has a daughter. The last time she saw Julie was over 3 months ago. But as you can see, I managed to overcome all these difficulties, and you certainly can too. The most important thing is that you already have the desire to change, and that is key. As time passed, Jonas and Lara became closer and closer. They worked together to grow and prosper the office. However, a new challenge appeared on the horizon for Jonas. One morning he came across something unexpected: a wedding invitation. It wasn't just an invitation, but an invitation to the wedding of his ex-wife, Kelly, who was getting married to Gail, his former partner. That in itself was a shock, but there was more. Minutes after receiving the email invitation, a Chinese investor called him, informing him that he would be in town for a wedding and would like to meet him at the event to discuss the business. This opportunity could have been a big step in Jonas's career, but it meant having to face his past. During the phone call, the investor surprised Jonas by saying, "Hello, Jonas. I hope everything is fine with you. I will be in your city for the wedding. How about we take this opportunity to talk? I was happy to learn that despite the divorce, you and your ex-wife maintain a good relationship. Remember, my trip is specifically for this wedding, and I'll be back right after, so I can count on your presence?" Jonas didn't know what to do in this situation. It would be too humiliating to see the happy faces of Gail and Kelly getting married. However, he couldn't miss the opportunity to talk to a potential client. The investor was a Chinese, the owner of many construction companies, promising a contract for millions which could further help Jonas's businesses and the city's needy community. So, without further hesitation, he replied, "Of course, I will definitely go to Kelly and Gail's wedding. See you there." After the phone call ended, Jonas still couldn't believe it. He checked his email again, and there really was a wedding invitation there. How is this possible? Why would Kelly invite me to this wedding? He doesn't even talk to Julie well. Does he plan to humiliate me in front of the whole town, or does he want to mend his relationship with Julie and reconcile? She probably arranged this meeting with the Chinese investor because she knew I would never refuse to meet with large investors. After all, Kelly knows me very well and knows that I will never refuse to talk to important investors. Anyway, I can't miss this wedding. Of course, Jonas didn't want to go there. He was already imagining Kelly's happy face with Gail. While he hadn't found any woman yet, it would be better to show up there with a girl, but where would he find a girl for next week? So he decided to ask Lara for help. She was probably the only person who could help him in this situation. When Lara entered Jonas's office the next day, Jonas greeted her and, a little embarrassed, said, "Lara, you once said that if I needed help, I could always count on you, right? Well, now I need your help more than ever." "Of course, just tell me what to do. I'll definitely help you with whatever it is," Lara replied. Jonas explained the entire situation with the potential client and ended with a request. "Please pretend to be my girlfriend just for this day. This gesture would not only mean a lot to me, but it would also have a positive impact on many people's lives. It's only for one day." With a look of surprise, Lara considered, "Jonas, you know I would do anything to help you, but the guests will definitely notice that I have nothing in common with them, and that could make things worse." Jonas, confident, replied, "Don't worry about it. We won't be there all night. My goal is for my ex-wife to see what she lost when she left me for Gail and to understand how important Julie is. Moreover, presence at this event is crucial for the potential client, which could greatly benefit our office and our city. You don't even have to say much, just be by my side. I will find you an amazing dress, and we will create a believable story about the two of us." They carefully planned their appearance at the wedding, with Jonas hoping that his presence with Lara by his side would make Kelly reflect on his actions, while also being there to pursue a business opportunity with an investor. The great day has come. The wedding gathered many guests in an elegant restaurant, including many famous people. Jonas entered the place, holding Lara's hand. The harmony between them was undeniable. Lara wore an elegant dress that showed off her figure, complemented by high heels that accentuated her posture. Her carefully styled hair added to her charm. Congratulations, Gail. We hope you find the happiness Jonas and I share. I can't believe how lucky I was to find someone as special as him. Kelly, confused by this revelation, watched as the couple walked away to their table. A mixture of surprise and jealousy took over her as she looked at Jonas and Lara with a nosy look. Who is she? Thought Kelly, not hiding her irritation, and added, I imagined Jonas would be devastated after our breakup, but I see he found company quickly. Who is this woman, and where did she come from? I need to find out more about her. It can't be true that I've never seen her before. For Jonas, the satisfaction was obvious. They managed to influence Kelly exactly as they planned. At the beginning of the celebration, everything was going well, and Jonas was able to talk to a client interested in sustainable projects. However, things changed when Kelly, visibly irritated and drunk, decided to cause a scandal. She grabbed the microphone and impulsively announced, I have something to tell everyone. I discovered something surprising about Jonas's new love. She is not who she says she is. Lara is no successful businesswoman or high society woman. She was just a homeless person before Jonas decided to save her. Now she works for him as an assistant. Jennifer, Jonas's former secretary, told me everything on the phone just now. I don't want this person at my wedding. I'm afraid of what he might do. Please leave our event immediately. Gail caused an immediate whisper among the guests, everyone casting curious and critical glances at Jonas and Lara. Lara, clearly uncomfortable with the situation, whispered to Jonas, I knew this would end badly. She then stood up from the table, walked to the stage, took the microphone from Kelly's hands and said loudly, I'm leaving now, but before I do, I want everyone to know that it doesn't matter if someone is rich or poor. The most important thing is to be a good person, and it's not okay to talk about someone without knowing anything about them. Yes, I'm not a high society woman, that's true. But I've never stolen a penny from anyone. Kelly, I'm glad you left Jonas and Julie. They deserve better. Irritated, with a regretful expression on her face, Lara headed towards the exit, trying to contain her emotions. Jonas quickly followed her because he didn't want to be there anymore either. Outside the restaurant, unaware of her surroundings, Lara was hit by a truck traveling at high speed. Lying on the ground, a red spot began to form under her head. Jonas screamed for help, and panic spread on the street and in the restaurant as diners heard the screams. The truck driver apologized, saying it wasn't his fault that Lara had crossed into the street without looking. An ambulance was called and Lara was taken to hospital. Jonas accompanied her, holding her hand and crying, I'm sorry, Lara, it's all my fault. Please, Lara, say something. Open your eyes. The paramedics tried to calm him down, saying, Sir, please calm down. She's unconscious and can't hear you right now. The case is serious, and there may have been internal bleeding. We can't predict the outcome right now, but you have to be prepared for every possibility. Jonas cried in the hospital corridor, blaming himself for what happened. He realized how much Lara meant to him and was afraid of losing her. Doctors performed an emergency operation, but unfortunately, Lara fell into a coma. The prognosis was uncertain. Doctors couldn't guarantee how her body would react after the accident. Jonas and Julie visited Lara in the hospital every day, talking to her and reading books aloud, hoping that maybe she could hear them and that it would help her regain consciousness. A few days after the wedding incident, an unexpected guest arrived at Jonas's office. It was Peter, a potential client who was at the wedding. Jonas, I need to talk to you, but I don't know if you'll believe me. The fact is that Lara, the woman you brought to your wedding, looks identical to my dead daughter. I know this may sound unbelievable, so let me explain from the beginning. My wife and I married young and were very happy together. We loved each other deeply, but had trouble having children. Anne had health problems that prevented her from getting pregnant. At that time, the only alternative seemed to be adoption from an orphanage, even though we dreamed of having a biological child. We had never considered the option of a surrogate mother until I met a professor of obstetrics and gynecology who agreed to help us. We had to find a woman who would agree to carry our baby. We published an ad looking for a young, healthy, and decent woman for a well-paid job. Among the candidates, we chose Cora, a healthy young woman from the inner city. We explained the situation to her and she agreed to help us, especially since she needed money to take care of her sick son. Everything went as planned. Cora became pregnant and moved in with us, although she often visited her son. My wife was wearing a false belly. We were preparing to become parents by avoiding the hospital, and only the professor was aware of our arrangement. When Cora gave birth to her baby prematurely, my wife and I were traveling. After returning, Cora had already left and the doctor handed the baby over to us, claiming that he had given Cora the agreed money. We paid the doctor to keep it a secret. We were glad we didn't have any problems, so we didn't ask questions about Cora's quick departure. We legalized all the child's documentation, paying a large sum to avoid questions. This is how we started raising our daughter Nora, as if she were biologically ours. Everyone believed she was ours. We were very happy. Nora was like us. When she graduated, I imagined she would be a great, successful businesswoman and maybe even take over our companies. She was healthy and played volleyball at university. But then she started having a fever, nausea, and then seizures. A tick bite gave her encephalitis during a picnic, and our daughter soon died. It was devastating for us, for me and my wife. Then, at a wedding, I saw someone who looked exactly like my deceased daughter. You can imagine what I felt. I thought I was hallucinating. At home, I told my wife everything. She was confused. How is it possible that someone can look exactly the same? We decided to hire a detective because I couldn't calm down. Peter paused, visibly moved, with trembling hands and voice, reaching for a glass of water, trying to control himself. Jonas, confused and curious at the same time, asked, "So what did the detective discover? Is Lara your relative?" "It is impossible. She told me that she grew up in a dysfunctional family. Her father was always drunk and she didn't like talking about it. She also said she's not from here." Peter continued his story. "It's almost unbelievable, but Lara really is my biological daughter. It turns out that Cora had twins. She gave us one child as agreed and took the other to her hometown because her older son was seriously ill. A year later, despite the efforts of doctors and money, her older son died. The tragedy plunged Cora into depression and her husband into alcoholism, leading to a difficult life for Lara. If I knew I had another daughter who was suffering, I would do everything to take her and raise her with love and care. Now that I have found her, I discover that she is in a coma, fighting for her life. I am very grateful for your support for her, Jonas. Don't worry about what others say. I'll take care of them. I am willing to do whatever it takes to help you." Jonas, stunned, tried to absorb the intensity of the situation. "You know, I'm glad Lara is your daughter, but I blame myself for convincing her to come to this wedding with me, and now she might die because of my fault. I want to help her, but I don't know how. Doctors say the chances are slim. We just have to wait." "Don't worry," Peter said. "We will do everything possible to save my daughter. I will find the best doctors. It'll be fine, I promise. I will do everything I can because now I have a reason to live." If she knew her father was waiting for her, I think she would wake up sooner. These words made an impression on Jonas. After talking to Peter, Jonas went to the hospital and entered Lara's room. She was still lying in bed, eyes closed, sensors flashing around her. Jonas grabbed her hand and squeezed it tightly. Her fingers were cold and still. He began to speak to her quietly. "Lara, please listen to my voice. You have to wake up. Your dad, Peter, recognized you at that wedding and immediately knew you were his daughter. Can you hear me? Your dad is here for you, praying for your recovery. He's waiting for you impatiently. He loves you deeply, and I am also here, waiting for you, but not as your boss or just as a friend, but as someone who considers you the most important and dearest person. Only in this terrible situation did I understand how much you mean to me. We are grateful to have you in our lives. Please, Lara, wake up. We all want this more than anything else. You are not alone in this. Can you hear me?" It was hard to believe, but one of Lara's fingers moved. It wasn't long before she started blinking and the devices around her started beeping nonstop. Jonas, surprised, ran for the doctors. The doctor, with a look of disbelief, said it was a real miracle that Lara had come back. He said the chances of that happening were almost zero, but now she was there, conscious, cared for by the best doctors in town. With this effort, Lara slowly improved. She didn't recognize many people at first. She had to learn to speak again, eat on her own, and after some time also walk. Jonas and Peter never left her side. They were the support Lara needed, always telling her that she would make a full recovery soon. Even little Julie was part of the team, drawing many beautiful things for Lara, dreaming of the day when they could talk and walk together again. When it was almost time for Lara to go home, she decided to open her heart to Jonas. "Jonas, during the coma, I felt like I was floating between two worlds. No pain, no feeling that my body belonged to me, confused whether I was awake or in a deep sleep. But your words about my dad, your love for me, drew me back. They made me realize that I had a reason to come back, knowing you're waiting for me. But tell me, Your words were just to encourage me to fight. Were you serious? My heart is yours, but I always felt like someone small next to you, a brilliant architect with a promising future. I thought we could never be more to each other, but please be honest with me now and don't give me false hope. Given Lara's honesty, Jonas knew this was the moment of truth. After talking to his daughter Julia, who also supported the idea, he confidently replied, "Lara, I swear I feel the same about you. I also swear that I won't let you leave my life. Julie and I need you more than ever. Do you want to be a mother and wife in our family? From the hospital, we will go straight to our home. What do you think?" Lara couldn't contain her emotions. She couldn't believe her luck. She gently hugged Jonas and kissed him shyly on the lips, looked into his eyes, and then they kissed passionately, putting all their feelings and love into this kiss. Suddenly, they both realized that they couldn't live without each other and that they felt so good together, as if fate had cooperated to make everything happen exactly this way. But Lara had one more important meeting ahead of her, with her father. She still couldn't believe that her entire childhood was wasted by fake parents while her biological parents raised her sister and didn't even know they had a second daughter. Peter came to pick them up and they all went to his luxurious mansion in the city. Lara was delighted with what she saw. There were gardens, trees, fountains, various plaster and marble sculptures. She had never seen anything like this before. An old lady with kind eyes and a warm smile came to meet them and hugged Lara tightly. "Lara, my daughter, I can't believe it. You are so like your sister. Even the freckle under his chin is the same. My girl, I'm sorry we weren't there for you, but we didn't know about you. We were deceived, but I'm grateful that we finally found each other." Lara felt like a little girl and didn't want this hug to end. No one had ever hugged her like that or said words like that when she was a child, but now, hugging her real mother, she felt so calm and warm inside. She kissed the hands of Anne, her mother, and whispered, "I'm so happy that you found me and didn't give up on me. My entire life before I met Jonas was extremely unhappy. Many times I wanted to disappear because I didn't want to live. I didn't understand it well, but now I want to do everything possible to make you proud of me." Peter, visibly moved, said in a firm tone, "Lara, my daughter, it's all yours now. We will never lose you again. I will be very happy if you decide to live with us and work in one of our construction companies. You have a bright future ahead of you. I'll teach you everything, and soon you'll be running all our businesses. But I noticed you didn't bring any suitcases. Won't you stay with us, my love?" Lara replied, "Dad, me and Jonas love each other, and I've decided to live with him and Julie. They both became precious treasures to me. But don't worry, I will visit you often so that we can get to know each other better. I hope you understand that." Peter hugged his daughter warmly and said, "You know, daughter, I'm very happy with your decision, because family is the most important thing we have in life. I wish you all the happiness in the world because I know Jonas and I know how great and strong this man is because of what he has been through. I also know Kelly, his ex-wife, an evil and vile person who did a terrible trick on him. But despite this, he overcame it and today he runs large visionary businesses. Now it's time for him to rest. Jonas needs your support, and I see that you are the most suitable person to be his new partner. The doors to our house are open, and you can come whenever you want. We would love to meet our granddaughter." Lara officially moved in with Jonas and Julie, and from day one she felt needed there. The little girl was happier than ever because she now had a real mother present, and that was why she was almost never far from Lara's side. Unlike Kelly, Lara was patient and loving, and the perfect woman for Jonas. She also remembered what her father Peter had told her about giving Jonas a break and being the perfect woman for him. Always there for him, supporting him in everything he did. And so it was. She was always there to help him, giving comfort, love, listening to his problems, and always had a keen eye for solving them. Jonas couldn't help but feel grateful for what had happened. Kelly was never like this. On the contrary, she was the one who demanded from him not only love, but also money and other superficial things. Jonas began to realize that during their marriage he had been practically a slave to his ex-wife's demands. And so with each of Lara's gestures, he felt grateful for everything that had happened. He finally reached a level of satisfaction because Kelly was out of his life. If that hadn't happened, he would probably still be in very bad shape over his wife's cheating on him with his former partner. After the wedding scandal, Kelly had a nasty fight with her new husband, Gail. "You've gone crazy in front of everyone and look at the mess you've made. Tell me, why did you invite him without telling me? Congratulations! You managed to make everyone look only at him, forgetting about us. What's more, that woman with Jonas almost got killed because of the spectacle you created to throw them out of the party. What a start to a marriage, eh? Now I really see who you are." Kelly was stunned, realizing that her plans were completely out of control. Her frustration led her to drink more than usual, and she constantly looked for ways to insult Lara in a base attempt to hurt Jonas. But ironically, it was Kelly who became the object of ridicule. If she was capable of doing this to her ex-husband, and even abandoned her own daughter, what awaits me? The two were trapped in a cycle of distrust and regret, questioning their future together. When the masks fell, Gail, recognizing who Kelly really was, made the decision to leave her and seek a new beginning away from this town that brought only painful memories. With his charm and intelligence, Gail quickly found his place and a new partner, leaving without looking back. Kelly, on the other hand, was left alone, homeless and in poverty. Everything she had was the result of Jonas's and later Gail's efforts. Deprived of everything, she sank into deep poverty, regretting that only now she realized that Jonas had always been the love of her life. If she was capable of doing this to her ex-husband and even abandon her own daughter, what awaits me? The two were trapped in a cycle of distrust and regret, questioning their future together. When the masks fell, Gail, recognizing who Kelly really was, made the decision to leave her and seek a new beginning away from this town that brought only painful memories. With his charm and intelligence, Gail quickly found his place and a new partner, leaving without looking back. Kelly, on the other hand, was left alone, homeless and in poverty. Everything she had was the result of Jonas's and later Gail's efforts. Deprived of everything, she sank into deep poverty, regretting that only now she realized that Jonas had always been the love of her life. Tormented by her past and the need for redemption, Kelly embarked on a desperate mission to get Jonas back, convinced that he was the key to regaining her old life. She waited for him constantly near the office, bombarded him with phone calls, and did everything to please him. But Jonas became increasingly irritated and rejected all attempts at reconciliation, saying clearly, "Kelly, please stop calling, stopping showing up at my office, stopping looking for me. I don't have the patience for this anymore. You destroyed everything we had, and now repentant you want to go back. I am happy about your repentance, but it is completely impossible to think about reconciliation. You should have thought about it earlier. Julie and I are building a new life with someone who truly appreciates what she has. Please leave us alone and don't look for us again." Despite Jonas's clear rejection, Kelly couldn't accept the end. There was still hope in her mind for forgiveness and a new beginning with him. She was convinced that Jonas still loved her. When she finally realized there was no way to rekindle the affair, Kelly changed her strategy and began demanding to see her daughter. Although Jonas had never denied her this right, at first Julie was happy about her mother's sudden attention and the opportunity to meet on the weekends. On a beautiful Saturday in the park, Julie shared with Kelly the joyful moments she had with Lara. With shining eyes, she talked about how Lara taught her the art of drawing and making rag dolls, and how she was always available to talk about any topic, always with a smile on her face. However, Kelly, hearing constant stories about Lara, lost control. In an outburst of jealousy and frustration, she interrupted her daughter. "Enough, Julie. Why do you keep talking about this Lara? She's just an opportunist, a homeless person who shouldn't be in our lives. Don't you love me as your mother anymore?" Julie, shocked and frightened by her mother's outburst, begged to go home. Kelly, however, trapped in conflicting emotions, tried to convince her daughter to follow an unrealistic plan. "Julie, we have to get rid of Lara, and then I can go home. Thus we will be happy again like a real family. You don't need her, you have your mom." Julie's reaction was full of distrust and fear. She begged again to go home and to safety. "Mom, I don't want this. I'm happy with Dad and Lara. Dad is smiling again. He doesn't look sad and he is always close. I love you because you're my mom, but can I come home now? You don't seem to want to know me. You never say anything good. You only get angry." The reality of the situation hit Kelly, realizing the mistake of discussing such topics with Julie, who only deserved love and protection. She tried to de-escalate the situation, but the tension had already built up. Less than an hour later, having complied with Julie's request, they called Jonas, and Kelly, albeit reluctantly, drove her daughter back home. When Julie returned home, she was welcomed with open arms by Lara in the kitchen, where there was an atmosphere of love and cooperation. "Hi, Julie, it's good to see you. I need your help here. How about you help me make the orange cake that Dad loves? We'll prepare the mixture together, and if you help me well, you might even scrape the bowl later. Agreement? We are a team." Julie and Lara enthusiastically threw themselves into the task, transforming the kitchen into a space for learning and fun. Time passed quickly, and before they knew it, it was already night. Jonas, watching the scene, wondered about the difference between Lara and Kelly. How is it possible that Lara offers us so much love and understanding, while Kelly can barely maintain a healthy relationship with her own daughter? I am incredibly grateful to have Lara in our lives, bringing the true meaning of family, love, and mutual support. Meanwhile, Kelly was struggling with her own inner storm, unable to find peace. After a frustrating encounter with Julie, she resorted to alcohol and drugs, blaming Lara for her own unhappiness and isolation. Convinced that Lara was the reason for her separation from Jonas and her daughter, Kelly became increasingly immersed in destructive thoughts, fantasizing about eliminating Lara from their lives, not realizing that the real problem was her own actions and decisions. In a moment of total desperation, and under the influence of alcohol, Kelly decided to go to Jonas's house with a terrible plan in her head. However, fate intervened before she could realize her tragic intention. Having lost control of the vehicle, she violently hit a tree, causing confusion in the neighborhood. Jonas, Lara, and Julie, alarmed by the noise, ran outside and saw a chaotic scene. Kelly, emerging from the car injured and covered in blood, began begging Jonas, "Jonas, you have to come back to me. I am the right person for you. Let's forget about this manipulator and start over. Just us and our precious daughter, Julie." Seeing her mother in this miserable condition, Julie cried and said quietly, "Mom, you're wrong. You've had too much to drink and you're saying things that don't make sense. I don't want to go with you and I don't want you to stay. Lara is good to us. Please don't talk about her like that." Frustration overwhelmed Kelly at her daughter's words, and she tried to rush at them, especially Lara. But in her inebriated and off-balance state, she tripped and fell to the ground. An ambulance soon arrived, taking her to the hospital. The serious consequences of her actions and the tragic ending that followed with the news of her impending death deeply shocked everyone. Despite the pain, Jonas became an even more devoted father and partner with Lara by his side. He offered every support to Julie, gently explaining the situation with love. At Kelly's funeral, Julie cried but realized that her mother's actions were the cause of the tragedy. As the months passed, the trio of Lara, Jonas, and Julie were more united than ever, sharing happy moments like watching movie premieres together in the comfort of their home. Surrounded by the love of her father and Lara, Julie flourished, embracing life with a new perspective of hope and joy. Now they were a real family, marked by an unbreakable bond, where there was love, mutual respect, and deep care for each other. There was no room for grudges or misunderstandings in their home, only for feelings, loyalty, and warm sociability. If you liked this story, subscribe to the channel and leave a thumbs up. These other stories will probably move you too.